Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fall River Historical Commission meeting. It is Tuesday, March 30th, 2021, and it is 6 p.m. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. I will do a roll call of the commissioners. Connie Sewell.
Here.
Richard Mancini.
Here.
Patty Rigo.
Present.
Ruben Amaral.
Present.
And tonight we are missing Joyce Rodrigues. We have one open seat. Larry Dykes has submitted his resignation officially. And I am Kristen Cantera Oliveira, and I am present. All of our commissioners, as well as our guests, are attending the meeting tonight virtually through Zoom. And the meeting will also be broadcast tonight on local access cable channel 9. Okay, first up, citizen input. Do we have any citizen input? Carrie, did we receive anything?
No, we didn't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have the minutes that we are.
I wanted to make a motion to table the minutes to our next meeting to allow time to review the minutes. It was a lot thrown at us to review, so is that possible?
Okay, so all of the minutes, the whole slew of minutes under the, yes. Okay, so I have a motion to table all of the minutes until the next meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I will do a roll call vote. Connie Sewell.
Yes.
Richard Mancini.
Yes.
Patty Rigo.
Aye.
Ruben Amaral.
Aye.
And I, Kristen Oliveira, vote yes. So the minutes will be tabled until the next meeting.
Connie, you can thank me later.
Thank you. Yes, it was a lot. Okay, so first up, under general business correspondence, we received a request from the First Congregational Church at 282 Rock Street for a letter of support. They are looking for a Massachusetts Historical Commission grant to restore one of their bell towers. And so I have a couple of people here representing First Congregational Church. If they could just unmute themselves, and then just if you could tell us who you are.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Andy Stinson. I am the pastor at First Congregational Church, and Gail Dillard is here with us as well. She's the grant writer that's helped shepherd us through this process and has done such a terrific job for us. So
thank you, Reverend Andy.
And so we wanted to really come and offer, requesting a letter of support for this grant. And this is part of a multi-stage, phased kind of plan that we're working through to restore our tower. We're at kind of the 100-year mark, and stone structure, mortar, and those sort of things kind of get to that point where they need that sort of love. And so we're at that point. And so I put forward some of the documents about kind of where we are in terms of what needs to be done, and kind of also the historical significance of the church and its kind of landmark status here in Fall River. And so I'm happy to discuss anything. And I don't know if Gail has anything she wanted to add just by overview of what's happening.
No, not at present. I just am here in case anybody had any questions. And also, you know, it's great to be here. I enjoyed speaking with Kristen a couple of weeks ago, and it's very kind of you to have moved so quickly to put it on the agenda for tonight. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to you for that.
Oh, absolutely. Does anyone from the board have any questions? We'll start with Connie.
I actually do. It isn't normal for us to give a letter of support for the Mass Historical Commission. I mean, they know whether you qualify or not. Like, I don't know if you meet the qualifications for the state. So I was just wondering why at a local level, we would be sending a letter of recommendation to the state.
I can answer that if you're going to, sorry. It was a requirement. It was a stipulation of the grant application that we request a letter of support from the local historical commission. It was part of the checklist. It was a particular thing that was required by the application that's put together by the state.
Yeah, on this particular grant, I had seen the section and it did ask for a letter of support from the local historic district.
It's the Massachusetts Preservation Projects Fund, and they request that all applicants, in fact, if you don't have evidence of the request, then the application is not complete. So that, I hope that answers your question, at least as to why, you know.
Structure list?
It's part of the instruction list. We can get you a copy of that if you want it for the minutes or something.
You didn't get I had sent an email around. It's on the National Register. It's on the State Register. It's on the significant structures list. The Form B was there. So did you receive it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Not this time.
Okay. Richard Mancini, any questions?
The only thing I would do is I'm kind of glad that and pleased that the Historic Commission is involved in this, and I believe we should always be. So that's a good thing to get, you know, for us to be participants of this. And I did drive by and looked at the building and the tower, and yes, it is in dire need of tender loving care, and it's a building that should remain solid in this city. So I go along with this letter, and I will actually say now that I'm in support of the letter.
Thank you. Patty Rigo?
Well, Rick said everything I was going to say, literally. So no, truly, I really think that's great that was a stipulation. I'm glad we were on the checklist, because I think that is part of the collaborative nature of projects. And when everybody's at least looped in, I think that avoids any miscommunications down the road, and it just makes everything, you know, people just want to know. People just want to be in the know. And I'm so glad that we know about this, because this is an incredible building. It's definitely an iconic structure in Fall River, and one that's very much beloved. So I also give my support, and I'm happy to see that this is going to get the TLC that it needs.
Awesome, thank you. And Ruben, any questions, comments, anything?
No questions. My comments are, thank you. This is fantastic, and I give all my support to getting this letter to you guys.
Thank you. And I will second all of those thoughts. And I know the church is also very involved in the community. It's an important part of the community. They do a lot of community outreach and events and things like that. And the building itself is just a beautiful historic building. So if anyone Reverend Andy or Gail, did either of you have anything else you wanted to say?
I just want to just thank you for the opportunity to come and kind of fill you in terms of how we're proceeding, and certainly look forward to kind of continuing the conversation and how this unfolds. This for us is a 100-year project. This is the one, probably the big push for us in the preservation of our building. And we're, we really feel we've been given a great trust in this bill, in the opportunity to have such a space to have a platform for ministry, have a platform to care for the city, to have a platform to simply continue to maintain the beauty of the skyline of the city in the way that the church does. And so, I hope to continue to be partners. I really appreciated the comments of all of you in terms of, being community partners in this, because that's really very much how we understand this as well.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we provide a letter of support for the bell tower, the restoration of the bell tower.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion and a second. So I will do a roll call. Connie Sewell?
Yes.
Richard Mancini?
Yes.
Patty Rigo?
Aye.
Ruben Amaral? You're on mute, Ruben.
Aye.
And Kristen Cantara Oliveira, I vote yes as well. So it is unanimous, and I will get that letter to the both of you within the next few days.
Terrific. That's great. Thank you very much for the support and for the keep us on your horizon. We've we have much to do in the days ahead. So and we're really, there's a lot of stages of this, and we're really hopeful that we can do the whole thing. We can really restore it to its real glory in terms of the finials and all the things that it requires, and that's our real hope. So and this is all a part of it. So thank you for your support.
No disco ball in the tower?
Well,
I did try and convince Reverend Andy that he should have a disco ball instead of a bell, but it was a no-go, so they're going to go back with the bell. So.
I wouldn't joke around with the state.
Really,
All right. Thank you so much for being here. You're welcome to stay for the meeting, or, you're welcome to carry on with your night. So, but
thank you for the invitation. I must go, so I bid you all a good evening. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, me too. I'm on to my next event, but thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
I'm just making notes here, so hang on one second.
She's super sweet. What a nice lady she is.
Yes. She's actually from Florida. She's a grant writer, but she's in Florida. Okay, so moving on.
You know what? I'll make a motion, since we only have one other guest here, to move number 3 up to 2 to swap.
Okay, we actually have somebody else, because I believe Chris Gallagher is here, but Mr. Gagiro is before him anyway. So if you want to move Mr. Gagiro up, we can do that. So what is your motion, Connie?
My motion is to move number 3, correspondence number 3, up to 2, and swap around.
Okay, so I have a motion to move number 3 up to now. Can I get a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. I will do a roll call. Connie?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Patty?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
And I, Kristen, also vote yes. So if Mr. Gagiro and I believe Emily are both here representing So he is here to discuss the ILGWU building at 38 3rd Street and
be right back.
for tax credits. So, Mr. Gagiro, if you want to introduce yourself, you can have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony Gagiro, and I'm looking to do something great at the Garment Workers Building. I'm not sure if Emily's going to join me today. I didn't think I needed a lot of help, but I'm excited to come before your board. I think you've seen both my projects that were just completed less than a year ago. They're everything that I said I would do. I'm looking for a letter of support so that I can obtain state and federal funding. This project cannot come to life unless those funds are granted. I'm looking to do 15 apartments in the Garment Workers Union. It's an odd-shaped building where half the space is cannot be utilized per se for residential because of the mezzanine. But I think it's a piece of what I'm trying to do, and that is build and try to create a new downtown living area where then you can build synergy for commercial uses. So my request is for a letter of support. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. And I think all of you know that, you know, my request through Emily, who has been exceptional, McCroski's been an exceptional historical consultant, is such that we need to pass both the SHPO and the National Park Service and what we can and cannot do. And at the end of the day, we need to meet exactly what you received, and that is what we propose to do, which we have not heard. And we need to live up to whatever we put out there in order to be able to be able to obtain the funding that is needed. So I'm here to answer any questions that you have on what it is that we're doing and how we plan to do it.
Thank you. So, Emily, did you have anything you wanted to add before we?
I don't have anything to add beyond what Tony said. I just wanted to, show up to this meeting. You guys have offered your support in a lot of our projects, so I wanted to be available if you had anything you needed.
Okay, well, one thing, if you could just explain to the board and to the people listening what McCrosti does, because I know that you work for McCrosti. So if you could just let them know exactly what goes on.
Sure. We are historic tax credit consultants. We do a few other things, but our main work is helping architects, developers get the historic tax credits at the state and federal level. It's a very kind of niche part of historic preservation, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, and we help facilitate that process.
Okay, thank you. So Connie, do you have any questions?
Nope. Not at this point, no.
Okay, Richard?
Yeah, just the building is a great building, and I don't want to make assumptions here, but you generally do a really nice job of restoring the exterior. But you were mentioning there's a mezzanine in the building. Is this going to be something that's going to be maintained? I guess maybe a little explanation of what's going to transpire with this building would be really nice.
Emily, do you want to answer that?
Sure. Yeah. So the mezzanine level, as it's currently proposed, we just submitted for the first time in January. The mezzanine level will be retained and it will be used within the unit. There'll be staircases that go up to the mezzanine level from the first floor. So it's reconfigured slightly, but the mezzanine will still be existing.
But it sounds like a really nice touch. And it's nice that that's going to retain its originality. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, no, that at this point, I know you got to get in and get the funding so you can start construction, but I just in my own eyesight here, look to see another nice, well-built, well-constructed, and well-restored building. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Patty, anything?
Just one thing. So the whole building will be apartments. There won't be any storefronts.
The whole building will be apartments, 15 of them.
Cool. It's a good amount. No other questions than that. I was just curious.
Ruben?
I'm not familiar with what the original use was. Well, current use, I should say. So were they offices and you're just converting them to apartments and that's it? Is that how the layout is currently?
It was offices and medical office space where, you know, it was kind of I want to say kind of a clinic for the Garment Workers Union. A lot of individual spaces as if you walked into a doctor's office, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yep, understood. Yeah, you know, I just was curious on what the existing layout is, and I'm all for it.
Yeah. So just to give kudos to McCrosti and Emily's worked on 3 projects for me. She is a true worshiper of restoring historical buildings, and that's why I keep going back to McCrosti. And I think what she's designed with stock architects and maintaining a mezzanine, but yet building a loft style unit in that building is unique. And it just adds to the other 2 that came online and others that will come online as to try to create a vibrant downtown. You know, I look for your support. I hope I get your support. And I continue to promise you, the board, that we're going to have to live up to what we say. And that's what Emily was referring to through the architect. And, you know, maybe 11 months from now, we have another beautiful property on target, ready to go and fully leased up like the other 2. You know what I mean? So that's the goal.
So I have a questions, but if anybody doesn't know the history of the building and its connection with the ILGWU, it really is interesting. If you go online, there's a lot of really interesting history about it. So for any of you buffs out there, I recommend looking it up because there's just it's got a neat history. So I have no questions.
So I make a motion to give a letter of support.
Okay, I have a motion for a letter of support. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion. Oh, we both second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second, so I will do a roll call vote. Connie?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Patty?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
And Kristen, I vote yes as well. So it is unanimous. And Mr. Gagiro, we will have your letter. And thank you, Emily, both for coming. And thank you for what you are doing to help preserve the historic properties in our city. I think it's wonderful. And I think it's great what you're doing downtown. I just can't wait until all this is done and we have this vibrant community again down there.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And like I said, you once asked me you'd like to be involved and the board would like to know. You're welcome to tour the building. You're welcome to tour the prior 2 buildings that you gave me letters of support to see what those letters truly mean from a developer's point to be able to retain these older buildings. And most people don't know, but it's actually more expensive to maintain these older buildings. And the only way it works is through these credits and through your support. So thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have
a good night.
Thank you, Emily.
Good one. Yeah. Bye.
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 Okay, so is there anyone, can I get a motion to go back to number 2?
Yes, I can make a motion to go back in order on the minutes on the agenda to number 2.
Okay, I have a motion. Do you have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion and a second. So roll call, Connie?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Patty?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
And Kristen, I vote yes as well. So we will go back to number 2. So they're looking for a letter of support for Community Preservation Committee emergency funds for roof repair at 486 Bedford Street, which is VFW Post 486. Is anyone here for that? Because I see a phone number that I don't know.
Yes, this is Rodney Jocks calling in from William Stock Architects. I
Oh,
apologize.
okay.
I couldn't appear via Zoom tonight.
Okay, that's okay. Hi, Rodney. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Good, thanks. So, so everyone got the information that I sent about the building?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Rodney, if you just want to just give us a little rundown of what's going on at the building and what you're looking for, and then we can entertain questions after that.
Sure. So maybe about 6, 7, 8 months ago, we were approached by Mr. Bill Damaris and a few others at the VFW building on Bedford Street, and they asked us to look at the roof. They're having some roof issues, and they asked us to look at the roof and prepare a quick kind of, I guess, I don't want to call it a feasibility study, but just some options. And they were going to apply to the CPC for emergency funding to replace the roof. So we visited the site. We went up on the roof. We took a look around. We took some photos. We prepared kind of a quick report. I don't know if you have a copy of the report.
I have what you sent.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, for CPC, I have some information, I believe. I remember seeing something about the roof, but yeah, I have what you sent me. For here, I sent that around to the board members.
Okay, so we did a quick report, you know, kind of outlining what the deficiencies were that we observed, and then outlining 2 options for replacing the roof. One is APDM membrane roofing system. And then option 2 is a built-up roofing system. The option A, the membrane, is obviously less expensive than the built-up roofing system. So we prepared this report. We put together a very quick opinion of probable construction costs. And then we submitted our application to Sandy Dennis, to the CPC via Sandy Dennis for consideration for emergency funding to replace the roof. Sandy had communicated to us that that we had to, that the building was not considered a historic building. So she referred us to this commission here, so you could consider the building historic. I apologize, I don't know the exact process or protocol, but she recommended we come in front of your board to consider the building historic. That way it could be placed on a list, and then we could go back in front of the CPC and request the emergency funding. The latest is that apparently the building or the entire mill complex at the location is on the, from what I understand, the state register of historic places. So therefore, I guess it is eligible to receive CPC funding. However, we were still asked to come before your board so you could at least kind of be up to date in what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help the VFW building.
Thank you. So, so the way that it works with CPC is when they have a project that's submitted under historic preservation, then the Historical Commission gives a letter of support. And so I was asked if 486 Bedford Street was on the Fall River Register of Significant Structures, and that address itself actually was not on the register. I couldn't find that address, but what I did realize when I got more information about it is the building is part of the Granite Mills complex, which is on the state, it's on the Fall River Register already. The whole complex is on, and it's on the state register and the National Historic Register as well. So the building was built as an accessory building. I'm not sure, Rodney, I believe it was built in the 40s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's the dates that I had found as well, yes.
Yeah, okay. And so it was originally used as a cafeteria for the workers in the mill. And then they ended up, it wasn't used anymore as a cafeteria, and it became the VFW Post number 486, which, as much as the building itself has a history with the mill that it's attached to, it also has its own history for the things that that the VFW Post did in the city. So there's a lot of veteran history as well as just architectural history on the building. So what they need is a letter of support from the Historical Commission for their project, because that's what the CPC asks when they submit under historic preservation. So so I will ask if any of the board members have any questions or comments, starting with Connie. You're on mute.
Hi, sorry about that. So my question is, so the CPC is asking us to declare it historical?
No, it already is. It's on all three registers, so it's not that it's to declare it, but that when they have an application for historic preservation or anything, if they're getting if it's something to do with the parks, they want a letter from the park board. If it's something to do with conservation, open space, that they want something from Conservation Commission or Historical Commission, because it's a historic project.
So this address, so Kristen, is this address on the Fall River Significant Structure list?
It's not listed as that address. That building, even though it has its own address, is part of the complex, and that's where it's listed. Because if you look at the Form B,
right, but doesn't a building have to meet the criteria for the Fall River Significant Structure? You know, the list that we have. I don't have it in front of me.
But it is on the list. The complex is on the list, as are the accessory buildings in the complex.
It's on our list.
It's on the significant structures list as the complex. The thing is, when the different complexes, like Granite Mills complex, the one down on Anawan Street, when those were added to the list, and I had talked to Tony Dias about this, the former chair, they weren't broken down by building. And that was something that I guess he had always intended to do. So it's something that we actually need to think about doing in the future, so that we have all the individual buildings listed. But the way that it happened when these things were added, I guess in 1983, a lot of these structures were added. It was added in as a complete complex, but the individual buildings weren't broken down and listed by address. So it's something that needs to be done, but they are considered historic as part of that complex. So this building does fall within that. And it is on the National Register. If you look on the Form B, this building is listed on there.
Perhaps you sent that information to me, but I didn't get any of that info. Did you send that as a packet? I didn't get that one.
I didn't get it either.
I forwarded the email that I had received on that.
Yeah, I would have had reviewed it, because I reviewed the others, and I didn't get that particular one.
I can resend it.
That'd be fine. I mean, you can resend it. I'd like to see it. I mean, I'm a little uncomfortable because we have talked in the past about letters of recommendation for the CPC, making assumptions of what the CPC would approve and not approve. So, I mean, if you're saying it was built in the 1940s, I don't know if it meets any of our criteria. I didn't have an opportunity to look at any of that. You follow what I'm saying? So, I mean, I can abstain from the vote.
I mean, it's on our list. It is on the list of significant structures. So it's not that we have to vote it on the list. It's already on the list. So it obviously met the criteria at some point because it's on the register. So there.
The address for that particular building, not the complex.
The whole complex is on the register. The accessory buildings within the complex are all considered to be part of the complex, and they are all on the local register, the state register, and the national register. The national register breaks down the buildings. They have the buildings drawn out and listed. Our register doesn't, but the complex itself, all of the buildings contained within the complex are considered part of that listing on the register. That's how it was done when those things were added to the register. So it is on the register. You're on mute.
So is I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but they've gone before the CPC already for emergency funding, and the CPC is sending them back to us. Is that what the story?
They submitted the application. So the CPC is telling them that they need a letter of support from the Historical Commission, because that's with any application that's turned into the CPC for historic preservation, they ask for a letter of support from the Historical Commission to say that it is on the register, to say that it is a historic property. That's what they're looking for. Rick has a question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would restricting the letter solve a lot of this? CPC is going to vote and either allocate the money or not, and they're going to make that decision for repairs. But we have a question, and I guess I'm in the middle between that question and being listed as a whole. But could we not address our letter just stating that the building is on the significant structures list, and approve it in that fashion, and just sort of be restrictive, and that it's not part of a historically functional building, but it is on the list of significant structures.
Yeah,
that should not make a major difference when it gets supported or supplied to the CPC.
It actually shouldn't. And from my research and looking at other cities and towns and the way that they do it, they all request a letter from Historical Commission, but other cities and towns just request a letter stating that the particular structure or whatever the case may be is on a historic register. They don't actually ask for letters stating that the Historical Commission supports it or supports the project or anything like that. In other cities and towns, I have yet to find one that asks for a full letter of support. They ask for something that just states the historical commission states that this meets the historic criteria or is already on either the local list or the state or the national list.
Yeah, and that's
what they require, which I don't understand how this, I wasn't there at the inception, so I don't understand why the CPC here has requested longer letters like of actual support, but that's something that I actually was going to bring up.
Yeah, well,
CPC, but that's how it's done everywhere else. Yes,
and we do send in normally when we have some historic property being renovated or we send a full letter of support. In this particular case, if we write it to be a little more restrictive and just signify that it is on the significant structures list and send it through in that fashion, it should cover the requirements of the CPC, but yet it doesn't cast us as sanctioning that building, that particular building, as a historic building.
Well,
right. Even though the complex.
I'm afraid that, like, writing a letter like that, we're ranking this project over another project, and that's really the CPC's role, not ours.
Right.
No, and that's the thing, is we're not really ranking anything. The letter comes in and all it does is basically say, okay, you have a letter of support here, so you've met the criteria that's requested in the application. If they don't have it, then they're not going to consider the application. But I don't think that having a letter is going to give it more.
The CPC will not consider an application if they don't have a letter from us? Are you kidding me?
I mean, they might, I don't know, but they're going to consider it not a complete application, because part of the checklist is you need a letter from whatever, like historic preservation, then you need a letter saying that yes, this property does meet historic standards. Because what happens is when they go forward with their plan for historic preservation, whatever it is that they're doing, they have to meet Secretary of Interior standards.
Well, it's a roof that they're putting on, a rubber roof, right? Isn't that what I understand?
I believe so.
So.
But I mean, in that case, I don't know what the standard is for that, but what they're doing is they're trying to preserve the integrity of the rest of the building. I mean, Rodney could speak more to that, so that would be a Rodney question.
I mean, you sit on the board as a representative of the Historic Commission, right? You sit on the CPC. So if they want proof that this building is on the historical structure list for the city, you can provide that proof. Like, or anyone could, like, make a copy of wherever the list, whatever.
Right, but they want it coming from the Historical Commission for whatever reason.
So that's not really a letter of support, though. That's like a letter of fact, confirming fact.
See, the way that the commission here, the CPC here, requests a letter of support. But what I'm saying is, in the other cities and towns, they don't request it. I have no idea why it's been done this way, but this is the way that it was done in Fall River, where they're requesting a letter of support saying that the Historical Commission supports this, whereas in other cities and towns, the only thing that they request from the Historical Commission is just a letter saying, yes, this is on whatever list because it meets historic significance. Yeah, and that's basically all the other cities and towns ask for. This one gets a little more in detail, but I don't know that what Rick said is going to make or break the project. It's not, we don't determine anything. We're just giving them a letter. Then the rest of the CPC votes on the project and decides whether or not they're going to fund it. We can give something, on a scale, using a scale of 1 to 100, we could give it 100 and say, this is the most important, significant building in the city. And it can still go before the CPC, and they may not vote for it because they don't feel that it's the most important.
So that's why I'm wondering, why are we being why are we even submitting? Like, we talked about this in the past at past meetings. I know with COVID and stuff, we haven't brought it to a full discussion, but we did talk about, you know, sending letters of support when we're not even familiar with the project. Like, the whole project doesn't come before us. It goes before the CPC, and they just want, if they want a letter proving that this building is on the, you know, significant list, then the significant list is available to everyone. You know, it's on the city website. I don't understand when it's something like a roof, emergency, you know, funding for a roof, why we would be involved in the historic aspect of it.
Because they're doing it under the heading of historic preservation, because it's considered a historic building, and they're trying to, with the roof, they're trying to preserve the integrity of the building. Architecturally, it may not be the most historical looking building. Does it meet criteria? Yes, it's more than 50 years old. That's one of our criteria. Does it have some kind of extraordinary architecture? No, it doesn't. Does it have historical significance for what the building has done in the city, for what it has contributed to a part of the fabric of the city in that sense? Yes, it does. So we don't only consider the fact that, okay, this building is a historic gem. There's other things that we consider when we put a building on the significant structures list.
Well, I'm fine with supporting a letter stating that it's, you know, on the list if it indeed is. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know. And I guess that's why I'm asking these questions. But if it is, then just restating that back, like Patty was saying, it's confirmation or stating a fact.
Okay, I'm gonna try and resend it. Let me just find it. I know Rick had his hand up, so Rick, why don't you go while I try and find this?
Well, I just want to reiterate that, again, if we send a letter through just stating that the building is on the significant structures list and it meets the criteria of the CPC, getting a letter from us, and we're not confirming anything, we're just stating fact, as Patty stated so eloquently. All we're doing is allowing the paperwork to be completed on the CPC side and stating a fact. So as I originally stated, I think we should just, a very simple, short letter. Normally our letters say in favor of, but we're not going to go that route with this letter. Just send it through stating that it's a significant structure on that list, and it should cover all the bases. And let the CPC make their decision.
Okay, I just resent everything, but maybe Rodney, can you talk a little more about the history of the building itself as far as the VFW? I know that Bill had a little more information, and I did just send that to everybody, but maybe you have some things that you can share with the board so they understand the social historical significance of the building. Is he there? Rodney? I'm not sure where he went.
There's a phone number that's muted.
Yeah, one of them is Mr. Gallagher. The other
it
one
was him, but maybe he's not. Maybe he stepped away.
Okay. I mean,
so this says, what you just sent us says that Sandy Dennis said that it is not listed on any historic register.
But because the address itself wasn't, and that's what we had to figure out what was going on. But it actually is. It's under the whole thing of the complex. That's why.
This is Rodney. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yep, I can hear you now.
Sorry, technical difficulties. I apologize.
Okay.
So someone had asked if I could speak to the historic significance of the building in regards to the fabric of the city. Unfortunately, I can't. Mr. Damaris would have that information. I know he had mentioned to me quickly that the building, you know, is now used for the VFW. They use it for a lot of meetings and a lot of events. He had mentioned that a lot of neighborhood groups also asked the VFW to use the building for their meetings and events. The city has different groups and events that they ask to use the building for as well. But again, I apologize. I really do. I don't have the information in regards to other historic information for the building.
Okay. Well, I did send some of the information that Bill had sent to me in that email chain that was going. So they do have some of that. I mean, the option we have is we could send the letter just stating that it is on the register, and then if we want to look for, if the CBC requires that we give a more detailed letter, we can have them come back with more information, and then that would give us time to look everything over. I don't think they would, honestly, as it is on the list. But
I mean, someone had mentioned that the list of significant structures is online. You know, we use that list in the office all the time. If we have a potential client who calls us, you know, they want to do something with the building in the city. Mm-hmm. One of the first places we go is we check that list to make sure if it's on there or not. Yeah. So I would agree the list is very accessible to anyone, you know, who wants to check if a building is on that list or not. And that's what I did with this building. That's where I went the very first place, and it is in fact on the list. So I'm not quite sure myself what the CPC, what else they would need.
Well, because the way that it's on the list, it's not listed on there as 486 Bedford Street. It's just listed as part of the mill complex, and that's where
part of the complex. Yeah,
and that's where the confusion was, because even when the first time I was asked about the building, I had no idea that it was part of the complex, and I had to do digging around in order to find that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's where the confusion is, and that's why I was saying that I think in the future something that we need to do is start looking at all the different mill complexes that we have on the register and putting each of the individual buildings on the list so that this doesn't happen again, because it can get confusing. There's a lot of buildings, and you know,
it certainly can get confusing. I know I'm taking a little bit of a right turn here, but we've seen a lot of we've been on a lot of mill complexes to look at buildings, and people want to, you know, can we do this, can we do that? And as you know, there are structures that have been built on these mill complexes within the last 20 or so years. They're relatively new structures, right? I wouldn't consider those structures historically significant if they're on or within a complex. So right. I see the issue.
Right. But this particular building was considered at the time that it was put on the Fall River register, it was considered as significant, as it was also significant enough to be put on the Form B and on the national register as well. So it is on there, because I was able to find it on there. It was called the former cafeteria. So it just didn't have the address listed, a separate address, but it's on there. So, but that's the thing, is sometimes you do have to do digging, and that's probably why this particular building became more of an issue. So, you know, we can certainly entertain putting you know, a letter just saying that, yes, the building is considered significant in that it is on the local as well as the state and national register, and we can leave it at that.
Okay.
I don't know if Patty and Ruben have any thoughts or questions.
No, I think everyone's gone through it exhaustively. I think just a letter of fact would be fine with me.
Okay.
Same.
Okay.
In support of facts. I'm in support of facts.
I like it.
Okay.
Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion on this?
Sure, I will make a motion to provide a letter of support of facts for the emergency funds for roof repair at the VFW Post 486.
Okay.
And I will second that motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. I will do a roll call. Connie? Sewell?
Yes.
Richard Mancini?
Yes.
Patty Rigo?
Aye.
Ruben Amaral?
Aye.
And I, Kristen Cantera Oliveira, yes. So I will send a letter. So Rodney, I'll get that letter to you stating that the building is on the Fall River Register as well as the state and national register. If the CPC decides that they want more information than just the facts, then we can put that back on the agenda and just get more information from you. But I don't think it'll get to that point. So.
Okay. I greatly appreciate everyone's time tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay. Next up, we have Christopher Gallagher, and he is looking for a letter of support for a CPC project for the Bank Street Armory roof replacement. Mr. Gallagher, are you there? I believe he's on mute. Alex, is there a way to unmute him or? Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Can you just introduce yourself and then what you need?
Okay, my name's Chris Gallagher. I'm Director of Facilities for the City of Fall River. And we were asking for a letter of support for the Bank Street Armory as well as the North Burial Ground gates. At this time, we'd like to take the Bank Street Armory and be able to put that on hold for now, as there's some ongoing developments with that as we've gone to CPC and asked that to be put on hold as well, that the building may be sold, and we would like to just reserve the right to be able to come back to you further if something does not happen there. We'd like to come back maybe under an emergency basis, because if it doesn't go through and it doesn't come to fruition, we'd like to be able to go and repair that roof right away. As far as I understand, they're in the process of it. And I'm hoping that it happens right away, and they are working on it diligently, and they know that roof needs to be repaired. So they're trying what they need to do to try to get it done so that they can start working on it right away. And they may be coming to you folks for letters of support for the Secretary of Interior and things of that nature. So I asked that would be removed from tonight's agenda and reserve the right to be able to come back to you in a later time.
Okay. That's fine.
I'll make a motion to that effect if you want to call a roll on that.
Okay.
I second the motion.
So I have a motion and a second to remove that from the agenda. Connie Sewell?
Yes.
Richard Mancini?
Yes.
Patty Rigo?
Let me get off mute. Yes, aye.
Okay. Ruben Amaral?
Aye.
And Kristen Cantera Oliveira? Yes. Okay, so that one is removed, and you obviously can come before us again if you need to put that back on the agenda at some point. So
yeah, if the board would like to maybe even send a letter to the CPC Commission on behalf of them, knowing that the historic nature of this building, we all know it's on the national register, we know it's on the local register, in support of anybody that is going to come forward that may in the future do that. But that can be up to the board, and that can be up to what you decide to do in the future. But if not, I'd like I said, I would definitely come back to you right away if need be.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the future, just because we would want the opportunity to talk to whoever purchases the building so that we know exactly what their plan is before we don't want to just give a blanket letter without knowing what they want to do with it. So, I mean, obviously they're limited as to what they can do with it because there's a permanent deed restriction on the building. So the building has to be done to Secretary of Interior standards regardless. So.
Yep. So my next project is the North Burial Ground. We are currently doing work on the structure that is there. We are going to put a roof on it, do some fascia work to it. We'd like to do the windows on it and stuff like that, which we're already currently doing. What we're looking for is a letter of support. We're looking to do the iron gates that are in the front. If anybody's driven by North Main Street and know North Burial Ground on North Main, you could see that the column had gotten hit and fell down. We've stacked all the stones behind the building and behind the wall, and we have a mason that we'd like to have him. He's going to rebuild it, and when he's going to rebuild this, there are hinges that have got to be put back into those columns. So we've gone in front of CPC to ask them for funds to help us not only restore the hinges and refurbish them so that we can put them in with the mason, but also to restore the iron gates that were hit prior to the column being hit. The gates were hit, and they had been stored for quite some time at Bullock Street next to Oak Grove Cemetery, and we subsequently pulled them out and looked at them, and they're in need of restoration. So we went to CPC and asked for the funds for restoration, and we're asking for the Historic Commission to give us a letter of support to support us in trying to get these gates restored.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? So we'll start with Connie.
No, great project.
Okay, Richard?
Isn't it ironic, but just a couple of months ago, we were circling around all of that area, looking at the North Burial Grounds, and yes, that does need repair, and I'm all in favor of restoring those historic cemeteries. I think there's a lot more that could be done there. We won't get into that at this point, but yes, those are really treasures.
Okay, Patty?
No questions.
And Ruben?
None here either.
Okay, I have no questions either. I am well aware of the needs of the cemetery, and I know what's being done there currently. And so they have Mike Keene. It is Mike Keene that's on that project, right, Chris?
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah. So, and I think they did a wonderful job with Oak Grove Cemetery and the refurbishing the gates there, and it looks wonderful. And I think that Oak Grove Cemetery gets a lot of love, and I think that poor North Burial Ground sometimes does not get the love that it deserves because it's not, in the right place, and it doesn't have the fanciness of Oak Grove, but it really is just it's historically it's so valuable and so rich and such a treasure. So I think it's so important that we give this poor little cemetery some love.
I'm going to make a motion to provide a letter of support for the North Burial Ground Gatehouse restoration.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Connie Soul, Richard Mancini,
Yes.
Patty Rico,
Aye.
Ruben Amaral,
Aye.
and Kristen Cantero Olivera. I vote yes as well. So, Mr. Gallagher, you will have your letter of support.
I thank you very, very much, folks. And I think it's very important that we have committees like this that help us keep our historic buildings and structures and open spaces and things like that. I think it's very important to the city to be able to have a commission that, you know, cares deeply about projects like this. So again, I thank you.
And thank you for, you know, being the one that spearheads some of these projects to get these historic gems preserved. So thank you as well.
Yep. No, we try. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, it was a proposed telecommunications project at 56 St. Joseph Street. So that was just, so they're looking for comments. If the Historical Commission has any comments, they're putting up communication towers on top of the building. I did send that to everybody. I didn't see any issue with it. I don't know if anybody else has any issues, if we need to send a letter there. Anything?
No, not for me.
We're all shaking our head because we're muted.
I know. You can unmute yourself. I mean, if you guys aren't having parties in the background.
My toddler is having a party in the other room, and she has no clothes on, so I'm going to keep myself on mute.
We understand. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I didn't see any issue either, so there's really no need to send any kind of a letter. We don't need to do anything other than if we have an issue with it, so we don't need to vote on that. And then proposed telecommunications project at 18 Picasset Street. It's the same thing. They were looking to put some cell towers on a building. Do we have any problems with that one?
Nope.
No.
If it saves our towers, I'm all for it.
Some of them, it's not even towers. It's just putting them on roofs. But they, because it may be a historic area or a historic structure, they still send us the letter just in case we want to comment on it. And you know, so I don't have an issue with it. I remember not too long ago I saw one go up on a smokestack. It was somewhere over on Pleasant Street, and I think it was at Pleasant and County, and they were putting some up on the tower, and they were gray, and they were on the brick tower, and I'm saying, oh my God, that looks terrible. They never do that. It just doesn't look right. It's an eyesore. And then a couple of days later, I went by and they had sprayed it and it matched right in with the bricks, and it wasn't even an issue. But I remember like really freaking out the first time I saw it, like, oh, they can't do that. It's hideous. So generally, I mean, they do this all the time, so they know to kind of blend it in with the building as well. So, okay, so no one has any. Okay, then nothing needs to be done there. Moving on, hopefully we can go quickly on this. So notice of intent to demolish structure, Pilgrim Mill, 847 Pleasant Street. We leave this on just because it's still standing. It expired 3 years ago, 3+ years ago, and still there. So do we want to keep this on, or do we want to take this one off and then revisit it if we feel the need?
It's a good reminder. Just
Okay.
leave it on there. It's a good reminder. It lets us drive by every now and then, take a peek. So good reminder.
We'll leave it on. It's there. It's standing. 45 Morgan Street, which is the Nathaniel Borden School. Still standing. I know they had done some work and they had taken a lot of junk out of the building, but the building itself is standing. I do go by there every so often and look, and I have not seen any demolition being done yet on the building. So as of now, nothing. 1 Weaver Street, historic smokestack. The smokestack, I believe they did some work to shore it up a little bit, and it's standing there. They're building all around it. It does not look like They are taking it down. However, they never did respond to the letter that I sent to the lawyer. So until I hear otherwise, I still would like to keep this one on, just to keep our eyes on that smokestack. But it does look like their intention is to keep it because they did shore it up. So
would another letter be apropos at this point? It could have gotten buried somewhere. Maybe just a letter as a refresher, and maybe we'll get a comment.
Do we want to, I mean, the first letter was basically stating why they couldn't take it down. It was in response to their demolition, but I mean, do we want to send a letter just asking what their intention is with the building? Is
just thankful that they haven't, they're not going to tear it down and they're building all around. I don't think they intend on tearing it down at this point. And maybe a letter thanking them might be beneficial, that it looks great.
That's a very good thought, Connie. And you could couple that with referencing the original letter, which was a question, and then put in your comments. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, would someone be willing to take that one on to kind of do a new letter?
Can you send me the original letter that we sent them?
Yep, I can send you.
I'll mess around with it.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. No, and I think I'm so grateful that it is standing, and I really do hope that's their intention. And I just think it's it kind of is a cool contrast in that you have this new building and then you have the old structure that you know, stayed rising from the ashes of what sort of burned down, and you know, you're building up something new around it. I just like the fact that it's there, that they've saved it, and I like the contrast of the old.
As upset as many of us were with what was going on down there, it's amazing that they kept that structure, and I am grateful, especially with the Sagamore coming down.
Yes.
A horrible press that's been going around in the front page.
Yep.
It's appalling, and so I really feel like when someone does do good work to save our structures that way, they deserve a thumbs up.
They do, absolutely. So kudos to Star for recognizing and realizing that. And yeah, so okay, so if Connie can, I'll send you that letter. Let me just make a note to send the original. Okay. Okay, I'll do that. I'll send the original to you. Thank you. So moving on, Sagamore Mill, number 1, 148th Street. I don't know if any of you have had the chance to go by there, but it is very sad. I did take pictures. I stopped maybe last weekend. I did stop and I took pictures of the mill, and it was coming down at a pretty quick pace. You know, it is what it is. It's sad all the way around. I don't know if anybody has any comments. Has anybody else had the chance to go by there and see it?
Yes, I've taken a lot of pictures myself.
Yeah.
I've seen other people's pictures and it's pretty shocking.
It is. It is.
Drive by it 4 times a week, and it's very upsetting every time.
And Richard?
Yeah, well, I haven't been by there in the last week or so, but yes, and we expressed that feeling very, very well initially, and to no avail. But it is, you know, it's you can't, unfortunately, we can't save all of them as much as we would like to, and
Right.
I think in the long and short of it all, protecting and saving as many buildings as possible is beneficial to the city. Unfortunately, this one just got through.
Right. I think what's bothering me the most is the press that it's getting, in that it's getting all of this positive coverage and positive comments, both from media as well as even you know, the city. Like I get that they're looking at this as sort of a renaissance for rebuilding up that area, but I really don't think that they should be so much celebrating the fact that we've just torn down this incredibly wonderful old mill. I think there's a way to go about, you know, congratulating somebody on building up businesses without really, you know, condoning some of the way that it was done. But unfortunately, the Herald News seems to really enjoy doing stories of buildings getting knocked down, and they don't really see why that's not a good thing. Just my thought on that.
You're right. More kudos should be given to Anthony Gagiro for what he's doing rather than what's happening here. I agree.
Exactly. He needs to be getting these front page stories of these buildings that he's saving, rather than let's give them to the people knocking down all of our, you know, thing that makes us Fall River.
Right.
So
I think sometimes with that, you have to take it to the court of public opinion, and that's where social media comes in. And I know, like, for instance, Joyce shared that piece with us in the paper about the Essex Library in Tiverton that's been repurposed as like a, you know, a historic vacation rental property. It's an interesting idea that I shared it today on our Facebook page. Those are the stories people should be talking about, instead of talking about knocking down old mills, and also maybe inquiring further, well, why did the mill get to that level? Like, why did it get to that point? Like, because of years of neglect and disrepair. And then it's about asking questions to the why and getting to the root cause of things, and not just celebrating that things are getting knocked down, because that's a temporary band-aid to a long-term problem. So yeah, I just encourage, like, I know that, you know, I'm on social media a lot because of my job, but I mean, you know, we should share as much as we can, because we do have a lot of people who I keep, you know, an eye on our numbers, and we don't post as much as, you know, obviously it's not a business, this is our volunteer thing, but we get people all the time who are very interested in our posts and interested in liking our commission. So I think there's a lot of, and then of course there's the historic photo sites that people are really interested in. Again, those are the types of people that we need to get, instead of this air of nostalgia, instead of being nostalgic, there are things that you can do about it. There's action that can be applied to nostalgia. It's okay to look at a bunch of old photos and go, oh, remember that? I remember when I used to do that. That's great. But there are things that you can do now. So I think it's about, you know, maybe as we're getting out of this time of COVID, we're getting out of, you know, last year we were just trying to, like, you know, figure out how we were going to do these meetings. Maybe the next step is figuring out, you know, how do we mobilize some of those resources to help us, so that we're not just the silent or the smaller majority of people who believe in this.
Right. Well, I think we started by reaching out to the neighborhood groups, just so that people understood who we were. And I mean, you know, it was a start. This is who we are. This is what we do. Now we take it a step forward, or 2 steps forward, or you know. So yeah, definitely things to keep in mind now, going forward.
We've got to fight ahead with the revival of the waterfront. You know, a lot of people are going to want to build. Hopefully they build around these buildings, not where they are.
Right. Good point. Well, one of the things that at least helps is now part of the waterfront was deemed a state cultural district. So there's a little more eyes on that area, which definitely helps. But we'll see. Okay. Anything else, or ready to move on? Okay. So old business, merger of the Historical Commission and Historic District Commission. I did speak with Attorney Rumsey, Corporation Counsel, and he has drawn up I guess a proposal combining the two. He did send that to me today. So I will send that around to all of you. I had a chance to look at that. I know that I've noticed there's just a couple of things that I think are missing from there. So we just need to add that in, but I'm going to send that around to everybody. And if you can read that and jot down some notes on that, because we are going to discuss it at the next meeting. We do want to try and get this done sooner rather than later. So I'm thinking our next meeting is actually scheduled to be April 16th. And I mean, it's only a few weeks away. So that gives us time. It gives us a few weeks to look everything over, make some notes, you know, talk about this at the meeting, and then get back to Attorney Rumsey, and hopefully in the next month or so. After that, we can combine everything, because it should be a fairly easy enough process. It would go before ordinance, back before ordinance, who I believe would send it to the city council to vote on it. So you know, I'll get that out to you guys all tomorrow. So do we have any updates on anything going on with the other commissions that we are all kind of following? I know for me, I'll just give mine first on CPC. So right now, all of the projects for FY 22 have been presented. Last night was the last of the presentations. So going forward, April 8th, we have our deliberations on the different projects. And then April 22nd, we will be voting on which projects we are going to move forward. There are a lot of really great projects that came through. And ours is there as well, the Form B project. Rick, I want to thank you for taking the reins on that one and helping out and presenting. So
yeah, I'm going to try and work closely with Al Lima and you know, spearhead some of that too. I think it's an excellent addition to our portfolio of historic structures and the nature of our business.
Right, definitely. And I think too, the CPC board understands too, I think we got the point across where they understand why the need for more inventory down in those two areas, because the North End obviously is one of the oldest settlement areas, and then the East End, there's just not much that's been done up that way. So yeah. Does anybody else have anything from their committees that they want to?
The park board is working a lot with lighting and generally with the parks at this point. That, you know, but they did work very closely with Chris Gallagher in getting those signs in the Oak Grove Cemetery. Those are really beautiful signs, and they're going to enhance the facility, and they did vote in favor of that, and they're going to work as closely as they can. Other than that, they've been dealing mostly with field, baseball and soccer fields. That's been there.
Spring, because spring's coming up. So
right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Going back to the Form Bs, I thought Stuart said that didn't even qualify. Like, I listened to the meeting, the CPC meeting, when he was doing the instructions. I thought he said that didn't qualify. It was disturbing, but that's what he said.
I don't remember him saying that.
No, I don't either.
I recall that. I didn't think completing Form Bs was qualified.
I don't remember hearing that at all.
I could be wrong, but that's what I recall.
I'll have to go back and listen to it because I don't remember that, and nobody mentioned that during the presentation. I don't know that anybody heard him say that. I know he said they prefer not to do feasibility studies and things like that, but this is something different. And even though they may not necessarily, like, there are some things that just aren't allowed, and then there's other things that kind of fall within that area of, well, it's not that we don't allow it, but we would rather you not. But it's still, certain things are still left to the discretion of the CPC.
But this is documentation. It's not feasibility study. This is documentation of existing historic properties. So I understood and felt that it was presented and accepted very favorably. So that was what I got back from those meetings.
Yeah, I don't remember honestly getting that about the Form Vs from Stuart. I'm gonna have to go back and listen, but I honestly don't remember that.
I remember when I was listening to it, and that's the project that came to mind, that why it was disturbing, but that's what I recall it. That's what I recall him saying. Maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, now I'm gonna have to go back and listen because I took a lot of notes, and that was not in my notes, and that would have jumped right out at me. Like with Stuart, that would have jumped right out at me. So, but I'll go back and rewatch it because we have it. So, anything else, Patty or Ruben? Anything from your groups?
Nothing that popped out. Just a whole bunch of variances to split some plots. Although there was one thing that just I saw, there was a building, Blossom Road, built in 1850. I couldn't really find any information on it. They're just trying to split the plot in half and build a new building behind it. But nothing mentioned about the building.
Yeah, I had seen that. Yeah. Because I didn't notice anything, because I get that as well. Okay, so moving on, new business, Oak Grove Cemetery expansion. So I had been invited to the meeting where they were discussing the expansion at Oak Grove Cemetery. They're expanding down in the new area where they just put in the new swale. In the section that's really not the historic looking area where it had gone to the grid design. So I had expressed my concerns with Mr. Perino and Mr. Perry about that because of deed restrictions on the cemetery, that they needed to check with Mass Historical Commission because some of the things that they're doing, because again, it's not the park-like design that it was originally intended to, but at this point they really can't do much other than what they've done in that area. But Mr. Perino had the landscape architect at the meeting, and he did go over some of the things that they're doing, and they actually do have some things that they're putting in place that give it a little more of a historic feel, in as far as they can. It's not like you can't create historic things, but it definitely gives it a little more character in the area rather than just something like a blanket generic thing. But he did reach out to Mass Historical Commission, and I did get a copy of the letter, and Mass Historical Commission did give them the approval to do it, and said that they didn't feel that what they were going to do was going to be detrimental to the cemetery, as that, especially in that area, being that they've already gone over to that design, that they didn't feel that there was any issue with what they wanted to do. So I am grateful that Mr. Perino did reach out to them, and doing some due diligence in it, and also that they have tried to consider putting a little more design into it, as far as not making it just really stark and generic, and that they have some things. And they did talk about actually using, for some of the landscape design, they want to use some of the old urns in that whole debacle that were removed. They were talking about putting some of those back in as decorative elements in that area. So that's all I have on that. I just wanted to mention that so that you all knew. Any questions, comments, anything?
No.
Okay. Next, open discussion. Does anybody have anything they wanted to bring up? Anything new? No? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April 16th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn, and then we will start the next meeting?
Can I just ask one thing? Did you say April 13th or April? Because April 16th is a Friday, or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay.
It is a Friday. I was gonna say the same thing.
I'm like,
oh, did I put the
Friday night?
I'm sorry. It's supposed to be April. Wait a minute. You know what? The date is to be determined. I don't know if it's the 13th or if it's actually supposed to be the 20th. I think I just put the wrong date in there. It may actually be whatever the third. It's supposed to be the third.
The third one is the 20th.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next date should be April 20th.
All right. That's better.
Okay.
Right. Got it.
So then we are scheduled for Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Thank you for catching that, Patty.
Sure.
Can I get a motion?
I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second that motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. Roll call. Connie.
Yes. Adjourn.
Richard.
Yes.
Patty.
Aye.
Ruben.
Aye.
And Kristen votes yes. So we are adjourning at 7:32 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Say bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Now, not everybody leave because we have one more meeting. Ah, she's gone.